What kind of advice would you give to single parents who are just stepping onto the journey of single parenting?
Oh, there's so much. Um, I would say you can create the life you want with the right mindset. Having just knowing that you can do it combined with faith, whatever faith looks like to you, whether that's Jesus, God, Allah, Buddha, or even if you don't are a non-believer, just believing in yourself, some sort of faith combined with your knowing that you can do it, you can do anything. Even when the 3D is hard, when life is really lifing, because there are many times when life is just lifing and it's hard and your faith is hanging on by the tiniest of shreds. If you still hold on to that faith and belief, you'll get through it.
Welcome to Single Parent Success Stories, a podcast designed to inspire single parents. Here you'll find resources from self care to finances to parenting and everything in between. Discover what it takes to thrive. Let the stories inspire you to what is possible.
Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today we have a special guest, Devon. She is the founder of English Communication Academy since 2020. Her groundbreaking academy has helped many non-native English-speaking doctors communicate effectively with their patients, colleagues, and staff. She will speak at the 14th World Healthcare Conference in Dubai next month, and she is writing a book based on her popular newsletter, Frustrated to Fluent. Her remarkable contributions have earned her two coveted awards on LinkedIn, one being named the top voice of interpersonal communication and another being named the top 250 plus rising star and upcoming influencer to watch. And she is also a single parent. Welcome, Devon. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So please share with us your story. How did you become a single parent?
Yeah. So before we begin, I just personally want to thank you for having me on your show. Just being a single parent, it's so important that our voices are amplified and heard. So thank you for providing a platform for us to share our stories. So that way we can help others. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
So anyway, how I became a single parent. I was with my ex-husband for 20 years. We were married for 11 of those years. And I knew that I had to leave. So do you want me to talk about like the moment I knew my marriage was over and then that spawned that single parent journey?
Whatever you feel comfortable with, sure.
Okay. Okay. So the moment I knew my marriage was over was when I had an acute medical emergency in 2019 and I didn't know how serious it was at the time. Anyway, I began hemorrhaging at home. And again, I've never had any health concerns, any health issues. This was just out of the blue. So anyway, I was at home with my two young kids at the time, and I let my ex-husband know that I needed to go to the hospital. And it was kind of like okay, thanks. And then my parents came and got me. Well, my mom came and got me. And when I got to the hospital, they said that I needed to have surgery immediately. Like they were already prepping me for surgery when I got there. I was terrified. I was scared. I didn't know what was going on. And so then when my mom was like, where is he? And I was like, I don't really know. So then she got him on the phone and was like, hey, you need to come to the hospital. So he got there just around the time they were pushing me back to the OR. And I remember begging and begging and begging and begging him to please be in the room with me when I woke up. Because for some reason, my biggest fear at that time was being alone when I woke up. And so I begged and begged and begged. And he was like, yes, I promise I'll be here. I'll be here. So then when I woke up from the surgery, my mom, she has a very distinctive anklet that she wears. And so every time she walks, you can hear her. So I remember being my eyes were closed, but I remember hearing my mom's anklet. And so I remember just my eyes were closed and I just remember saying, "My mom is here." And she said, "Yes, I'm here." And then I said, "He's not here, is he?" And she said, "No, I'm really sorry. He left as soon as you went past the double doors." And at that moment I knew my marriage was over. And then that was confirmed when I got stranded at the hospital. So anyway, what happened with me is that I had an ovarian cyst that ruptured, and apparently it was like the size of a baseball. It was huge, and so I began to internally bleed. And apparently, it was so serious that I almost died from it. My mom told me that they had to. The doctor was looking for my next of kin, and it was my ex-husband. And so they were like, okay, we're gonna have to tell you because your next of kin isn't here." So apparently they talked to her and was like, this is very serious. She might not make it because the hemorrhaging started poisoning my blood. So it was really serious. I didn't know it was that serious at the time. And so then anyway, when I knew my marriage was over, when I knew he wasn't there. But then it was confirmed because that was major surgery at the time. I couldn't even really walk at the time because they had to remove my ovary, they had to remove my fallopian tube, they had to stop the hemorrhaging. It was really serious. So anyway, I was waiting for my ex-husband to pick me up from the hospital to go home, and he was a no-show. He didn't show up. And so then I had to ask my parents to come and pick me up because I got stranded at the hospital. And so that was the confirmation that I knew my marriage was over because I was with this person for 20 years. And at the time, I felt like he genuinely did not care whether or not I lived or died, truly lived or died. And so just for him not being there, and then I got stranded at the hospital. He was a complete no-show. That's how I ended up starting my single mother journey.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it took a long time for me to forgive, to heal, to let go. And there was a lot of things leading up to that. So I had to have a lot of therapy, a lot of life changes, a lot of forgiveness, a lot of healing, a lot of letting go. So yeah, it took a long time for me to get over that because I was 18, young, my first everything, my entire identity was wrapped around being a wife and a mom. And then in an instant, that was just done. So at the beginning, I was like, okay, I was never expecting to be on this journey of being a single mom, being divorced, because when you're married, you never think in a million years you're going to get divorced ever. So my entire trajectory just changed. And so that was really hard, especially just feeling like I wasn't loved, I wasn't valued, and just the fact that I was stranded. It was really, really hard. But like I said, with the right therapy, the right mindset, focusing on where I'm going, giving myself permission to grieve that. I forgive him. I forgive everything that has happened to me. So because of that, I'm thriving now. I have to say, I'm really grateful for that whole experience. I really am. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I didn't go through those things. So I'm really grateful.
Kind of opened your eyes on everything.
Yes, absolutely.
What were some of the things you struggled with when you became a single parent?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I would say, there's three things that I really struggled with. The very first thing, or the most impactful thing, is that I felt like a failure, a complete and utter failure. And a lot of that was financial at the time, because when I left, he was the breadwinner, and I was hearing all these things from most people, not all, but a lot of people saying, "Well, Devon, how are you going to do it? He was the breadwinner. You got two young kids. What are you going to do?" And because I wasn't the breadwinner, that was really intense at the time. And so failure was huge. It was colossal. It was monumental at the time. So that's the first thing. The second thing was also guilt, because I felt like I broke up my family. And so just feeling like I was the bad guy here. Now, regardless of, everything that happened, I really internalized that and be like, I'm the one that's causing all of this pain. So letting go of the guilt was also really hard. And then three, to be perfectly honest, was having faith. At the time, it was really challenging because I was like, why did this happen to me? Why did I go through these things? Now here I am having to start all the way over at 39 because I was like, I'm too old to be starting over. Now, I mean, looking back, I'm like, I know that's, ridiculous, but I was going through this. I was knee deep in it at the time. So I was like, I'm too old to be starting over at 39. What am I going to do? I had no idea what I was going to do. And so I really struggled with faith. Having faith that I made the right decision and having faith that everything was going to work out, I also struggled with. So those are the three things that I really struggled with at the beginning.
Oh, wow. And you're so right. Feeling like a failure, we oftentimes, especially as women, we internalize everything.
Oh, yes.
Everything is our fault.
Oh, 100%. Everything is our fault, period. And having to work through that is so hard.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably a lot of reasons why women stay longer in their marriages because of that.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
And the guilt is so huge.
It is. It is. I'm grateful though because my kids are older now. My daughter is 14 and my son is 11, and they've been in this space for almost 5 years now. And they recently told me they like, I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for how things panned out. They are old enough to understand why things happened the way they did. So I'm so grateful for their maturity and their wisdom to understand why things panned out the way they did. That helped me just confirm over the years. I mean, I always knew I made the right decision. Like I never had one shred of doubt that I was making the wrong decision. But just having that confirmation through your kids, just saying thank you for doing this because our lives are better, our life trajectory is better. It just, as a mother who worked so hard on creating a house full of love and light, I'm extremely grateful for that.
Totally. Yeah, you're right. How did you discover what you do now?
That's also a really great question. So it was actually at my rock bottom. So when I left, because, like I said, I got stranded at the hospital, I ended up coming to my parents' house. That was not the plan at all. Because at the time it was major surgery and I couldn't walk, I couldn't really do much. And so my parents helped quite a bit with my kids. At the time, my daughter was 9 and my son was 6. So they were still pretty young at the time. And so anyway, how I discovered doing what I do now, I was at my rock bottom. So I wanted to go to the store and get some milk and bread for my kids. And I didn't know if I had enough money in my account for that. So I checked my account and I did not. I did not have enough money to go to the store to get those two essential items. I had less than $10 in my account. And I felt like the biggest failure. I felt like the biggest loser. It was just my rock bottom. I felt horrible. But at that moment, I said, okay, God, this is the lowest I'm ever going to feel in my entire life. Failure is just not an option. I've got these two babies I need to raise now by myself. Failure is not an option. I have nothing to lose in this moment. I've got nowhere to go but up. I got nothing to lose, everything to gain. So what am I supposed to do? So then at that moment, I got the thought saying, what is the biggest, grandest, wildest dream that I can think of? Because I have nothing to lose. So I had the opportunity to dream big. And then that's when I got the thought to start my business helping doctors with their English communication skills. Now, my journey into teaching English as a second language started in 2016, actually. I had a cushy job with Geico, which is a car insurance company, if you have international listeners. And I had it was cushy job, benefits, salary. However, my daughter needed to be homeschooled. And so I made the decision to completely change careers. And everyone thought I was a little nuts to do it, but I knew this was the right move because my daughter really needed to be homeschooled at the time. So how I fell into teaching English as a second language when I left my job, I didn't really know what I was going to do. So I just told God, I said, listen, God, I don't care what I do as long as it's fun, it's rewarding, and I can pay my portion of the bills because, again, I was married at the time. That's literally all I cared about. That's how I fell into teaching English as a second language online. So I got my certification, and then for 4 years, I just taught English as a second language. Well, in those four years, I came across a lot of doctors who kept telling me the same thing over and over again. Like, I'm already fluent. These regular English classes are doing nothing for me. This is a waste of my time. I need critical thinking skills. I need presentation skills. And so I really liked working with doctors because they took it very, very seriously. And also, there was a deeper root, there was a deeper sense of guilt and shame for needing help. I'd sensed that with them over time. And I think it's because they work in healthcare, they have to communicate effectively. They're usually leaders, they have staff. They usually have to, if they're on the clinical side of things, they have to say probably the worst news in people's lives, and them not having the ability to do that with confidence. I just felt the burden of this. It ran way deeper for them than other groups. So then anyway, that is how I decided to start my business because I was already teaching English as a second language at that time. So I decided just to go for it, just to start my business helping doctors with their communication skills. So at the time, I just started as a coach. I did individual coaching. I created a 10-week program based off of everything that I discovered when I was teaching English. Also, back in my days when I had like corporate jobs. So then I started off as that. Then I did group coaching. Then I did a membership program. And now I'm currently scaling again to a full-blown academy where we're going to have a lot more staff. There's going to be a lot more resources, a lot more access to information. I'm very excited about my current scale up because enrollment is currently closed as we scale. And now I'm going to be able to help many more people in healthcare, like nurses. I've been getting a lot of interest from decision makers in the nursing side of it, and I didn't have the capacity to help them because it was only catered to doctors. So now I'm going to be able to help a lot more people. But yeah, that is the story of how I started. Just a thought at my lowest. What's the biggest, most unrealistic dream I could think of?
That's beautiful. And it's all always comes down to a decision that you make.
Yes, absolutely. And so that has really changed my just where I'm at now to where I started. That sad, broken down woman on her in her parents' house on that bed, crying my eyes out. It's like thinking about that woman and where I'm at now, it's really changed my perspective on things. Failure being one of them. Um, and then also, I guess the most important thing, there's magic at the bottom. Oh my gosh. If you change your perspective on your worst or just being in the trenches, there is nothing but opportunity to change if you have the right perspective on it. So, yeah, I'm really grateful for the way things panned out because, yeah, I could have never imagined where I'm at now, and I couldn't even imagine where I'm going at that time. I just wanted to start my business. That's it. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Was there any book you read along the way that kind of helped you to keep going on your journey, that inspired you?
Yeah, I would say Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's a timeless classic. I absolutely loved that book because it changed my beliefs about money. Because for me, money and failure were synonymous with each other, and also money and success were also synonymous with each other. So I had to do a lot of healing with money. And so that helped me immensely with the energy of it, how to cultivate it, how to generate it, the importance of patience, the importance of courage, the importance of holding on to the belief that you could do it, transmuting your energy. Oh yeah, that was key for me.
Totally, totally. What did you do to heal your money problems?
In regards to money or just in general?
Yeah, in regards to money.
I had to change my belief about success and failure. If I can go back and talk to that woman at 39 on at her parents' house on that bed that day, that would have saved me years of pain and struggle that I didn't need to go through. I would tell her at that moment to redefine her beliefs about failure and redefine her beliefs about success. Because for me, again, it was more about money. And if I didn't have money, I was a failure. And so changing my definition of success and failure were absolutely essential, especially as women, especially as single mothers, because as you know, the world, for whatever reason, they don't really like us very much. Um, we are like the bane of a lot of people's existences for whatever reason. It's always our fault for whatever we do. And so that also compounded the feelings of failure for me, especially because at the time, my kids were homeschooled and I worked from home, and I knew my teacher's salary was just not going to cut it. So I had people who I thought were my friends and some family, I'm not going to lie, were like, well, you're going to have to get a job that you hate now because you're a single mom now. Or you're going to have to put your kids back in school because you're a single mom now. Or your kids are going to grow up with behavioral problems because you're a single mom now. And just having people tell me that, like, just already co-signing on how the rest of my life was going to be, I actually became very defiant in that because I'm like, I'm not going to allow anyone or anything to dictate how I'm supposed to show up simply because I made a decision to walk away from my marriage. Period. Period. I just became so, that anger and that venom I felt at the time fueled me in a way because I was like, going to I'm just not going to show up in those ways. Now, did I have financial struggles? Yes. You know, did I struggle with my belief in all this stuff? 100%. But I made sure that my kids were going to grow up in a house full of love and light, and this was not going to determine their lives in a negative way. And thankfully, because my intention was so powerful in that, thankfully it has not panned out that way. So yeah, just changing those beliefs about those two things changed my life.
Totally, totally. Beliefs are so important. They influence decisions and how we see the world and how we react. But I love that you decided, whatever other people say does not matter because you have
It
your
does
own.
not. And then as women, we are so indoctrinated to have other people's beliefs, thoughts, opinions to dictate how we show up. That's just how we're conditioned. You know, like we are conditioned to not trust our intuition because other people are more experienced or older or wiser or whatever. You know, and it's like, no, like when we are in the driver's seat, oh, anything is possible. So unlearning all of that, deprogramming all of that is essential.
Yeah, totally. So did you enroll in a coaching program for you to get rid of your beliefs? Like, what did you do? What kind of path did you follow?
So I really got into therapy at the time, extensive therapy. So that helped a lot with changing my beliefs, changing the way I viewed myself. That helped a lot. Also, I didn't do any specific coaching in this, but I did join like support groups. I found other single moms. I also changed some habits. Like I became more proactive with my health. I began to meditate more. I began to do yoga. I basically just began to do things that I wanted to do. I gave myself permission to just have fun and create the life that I wanted for myself. So I did that as well. I also educated myself on beliefs and what happened to me when I was married. So educating myself through books, podcasts, and I did quite a few of those at that time as well. I also, especially when money was really tight, I found any free webinar that I could possibly find on whether it's money mindset, business mindset, single moms, anything I could find, free webinar, free information. I went to those as well.
Awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
What do you think is the most important trait to instill in a child?
Oh, these are such good questions. Yes, I would say that they are valued just for being who they are. It's interesting that you ask that because sometimes people ask me, like, wow, your kids are so amazing, or, wow, your kids are so well behaved, your kids are so insert amazing quality here. And they're like, how are you doing it, like, as a single mom and all this stuff? And I'm like, I just try to keep things as simple as possible. And I've always had this with parenting. Kids, they just want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be valued. They want to be loved. When it's just really simple in your mind like that, you just naturally start doing things to make sure that happens. And so I would say those things. But to answer your question, I would say the biggest thing is knowing that they are just being who they are is enough, and accepting who your children are going to be without you trying to change them into what you think. That is key. Period.
Totally. I love that. I love that. You're so right. Because we as ourselves had to unlearn that and learn how to be valued because
Right.
so it's awesome that you're doing that already and they have
Thank you.
so
And
much
if
better beliefs in themselves when they grow up.
Yeah. And then also too, I think another thing too just kind of came to me that being human as the mother is essential. Like being strong all the time. Yeah, no. They need to see you cry. They need to see you angry when you're angry at things, not necessarily at them, but you know what I mean? They need to see the full spectrum of you as a human being. Because when they see you working through anger or working through sadness or working through fear, it gives them the tools they need. Or if you make a mistake, genuinely apologizing to them because you're human, you're going to make mistakes. So if you mess up as a parent, own that, honor that, and they're very receptive to it if you show up authentically to them. So that's another thing too, as a parent, just show up as who you are, flaws and all. They need to see you as a full person, not just someone with a brave face all the time.
Totally, yes, totally.
Yeah. 100%.
Sometimes we think we are like robots. We have to go and work 24/7, never, clock
Right.
out.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I mean, of course, as single parents, we have to use discernment. There are definitely times where I've had to use a complete brave face, but there are other times where they've seen me cry, but they've seen me really mad about something. And then I kind of turned those into learning moments after I kind of processed the feeling. And then I would talk to them about how they process anger or fear or sadness. And so, yeah, giving them tools in their toolbox, as I would like to say to them.
Totally. Yeah. What was the smallest thing that had the biggest impact in your life so far?
The smallest thing that has had the biggest impact. Ooh, that's such a good question. Okay, I'm just going with the first thing that came to my mind here.
Sure.
This happened very recently because I'm kind of going through like another major reset with my scaling of my business and my book and all this public speaking that I'm doing. I'm doing like another like reset right now, right? So I would say the smallest thing that had the biggest impact recently is when I was on LinkedIn and uh, I have a pretty large network on LinkedIn, thankfully. Knock on wood, I'm really grateful for that. So anyway, someone in my network who is a C-suite, she's an executive at a medical staffing company. She reached out to me out of the blue and was like, "Hey, Devon, I just went to the FSMB um, conference. And I think if you can become a vendor with them, that might be really helpful because there were a lot of non-native English speaking doctors who gave these presentations and we couldn't really understand what they were saying. So I think if you connect with them and let them know about your academy, that might be really fruitful for you." So I said thank you. And I started looking into like the medical boards because I really didn't think about that as an option. So I realized that each state had their own hierarchy of leadership for each state, and then nationally there's a ranking of these medical boards. This is like making sure the doctors have the right licenses and all this stuff. So I reached out to the CEO of the national one, like the top dog for the ones that run the entire country, right? So I'm thankfully I have no problem like sliding in the DMs of people on LinkedIn. Like I have no problem doing that. So I sent a connection request to him, and so he accepted within like an hour or so. And then I just introduced myself. I said, "Hi, my name's Devon Bruce. I'm the founder of English Communication Academy." I told him a little bit about what we do, and then I said someone in my network suggested that we get connected. And so then he was like, "Thank you so much, Devon. You know, I appreciate it." So then I said, in the future, if there's any way that you might want to collaborate on something or, you know, explore some ideas or options, just please let me know. And I just left it at that. So about 90 minutes after that, I was like, "Okay, Devon, wait a minute." I slid in the DMs of the CEO of the medical boards for the entire country. And it was easy. He accepted my request easily. And then I was like, "Wait a minute. Okay. If I can do that, I really do with my business." So then that made me expand even more, right? Because I was like, I could potentially have a lot of impact on healthcare in this country if I'm able to do something super small like that. So that really made me think I can really go places, really take it there with my business, with the right planning, with the right beliefs. And so that just really opened up my eyes to what is truly possible for myself. So I hope that answers your question. Something so small, just introducing myself to this guy so easily and so naturally and being like, "Wait a minute, what can I really do here?"
That's beautiful. Yeah, and it goes back to having the right beliefs in place and being open to receive any kind of advice or help and then pursuing that, going with that, reaching out.
Yes, absolutely. Because I was grateful for her that she thought of me because I haven't spoken to her in a while, but she thought of me when she was hearing these non-native English speaking doctors and she could not understand anything they were saying. And so the fact that she reached out to me and was like, "Hey, Devon, I think you should really start connecting with people with these medical boards and let them know that your academy exists." And I just listened and I did it. So yeah, I would say recently that's been the smallest thing that's had a huge impact on expanding what I can really do with my life and my level of impact that I so desperately want in healthcare. I'm very passionate about bridging the language gap in healthcare. So yeah, it was a I'm glad I took that time to be like, well, wait a minute, Devon, like, wait a minute. Like what I just did was like a low-key boss move. Like, think.
Awesome, awesome. What kind of advice would you give to single parents who are just stepping onto the journey of single parenting?
Oh, there's so much. Um, I would say you can create the life you want with the right mindset. Having just knowing that you can do it combined with faith, whatever faith looks like to you, whether that's Jesus, God, Allah, Buddha, or even if you don't are a non-believer, just believing in yourself, some sort of faith combined with your knowing that you can do anything. Even when the 3D is hard, when life is really lifing, because there are many times when life is just lifing and it's hard and your faith is hanging on by the tiniest of shreds. If you still hold on to that faith and belief, you'll get through it. And then also, I would say one day your children are going to thank you, especially if you're walking away for the right, use that term loose firmly, like the right reasons. Your children are going to thank you one day. And also, one more thing, if I could go back to that woman again, don't listen to the naysayers. There is a huge stigma for, I'm going to say, single mothers. I had a talk not too long ago with a single dad, and I don't know how we started talking about this, but he was saying, he was like, I would never want to be a single mom. And I was like, really? Why is that? Because, you know, you're a single parent and he has his kids full time. And he was like, because as a single dad, I'm honored, I'm revered. The world thinks that I am a savior. But as a single mom, you guys are viewed as the devil. And I was like, oh my God, I never heard a man say that before. I never heard a man say that before. So anyway, to all the single moms, this don't internalize that stigma of being a single mom. I did internalize that at the beginning for a little while, and that really affected me and my beliefs about myself. So yeah, don't listen to the world telling you that you can't, or you're a horrible human being for being a single mother.
Totally, I love those things. You're so right and so important. You know, sometimes we think that nothing is, especially when we're in the depths of it, we think that the life is over, and we gotta change our mindset. As they say, the mindset that created the problem, you cannot solve it with the same problem.
Absolutely. You have to do a lot of changes. You cannot be that same woman that you were, or the same person that you were when you were married. If you really want to bring in a new life, you have to really change. You have to change into that person who can handle the new life. And that's not easy to do, but it is possible.
Yeah. Thank you so much. If people would like to connect with you, learn more about you, where would they go?
So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you just look me up, Devon Bruce, I'm usually the first one. And I'm very active on the platform. And then you can also find out a little bit more about my business at EnglishCommunicationAcademy.com. Enrollment is currently closed because we are scaling in a massive way right now. But yeah, if anyone ever wants to reach out to me, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn and send me a message.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you for sharing all your lessons and also your journey as a single parent. And I'm excited for what you are doing. You bridging the language gap for the doctors. That's absolutely incredible. I wish you success in that endeavor and all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.